Right now in the United States, no taxes are the new plan. The American people will not pay taxes, specifically income taxes. We've learned this before, and we heard from President Trump himself. President Trump wants to eliminate income taxes. He wants to get rid of income taxes, and he wants to only do tariffs. Well, here's what's happening. Even though that's his plan, many states are now proposing and passing new legislation to provide their residents with greater benefits, which means more money in your pocket. Today, we're going to talk about what states are currently planning, what some are already proposing, and what one state already passed to eliminate income taxes. This is going to be huge, but I want to break all this down, explain what is going on, and how you could potentially benefit here in the very near future. So make sure you watch this entire video, and I'll explain exactly what is going on. But first, all I ask is one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So yes, it is true. President Trump wants to eliminate all income taxes on a federal level. However, there's still a problem because states do impose taxes on their residents. Well, guess what? There are actually 9 states with no income tax. Those states, in case you want to know, are Washington State, Nevada, Alaska, Wyoming, South Dakota, Texas, Tennessee, New Hampshire, and Florida. However, another state, Mississippi, their governor just signed a bill eliminating state income tax. That's pretty big. I want to explain how their plan is actually going to work because it doesn't just happen immediately. Look at this. It says earlier this month, the Mississippi House passed a Senate plan that would gradually eliminate the state income tax. Under the plan, the income tax will drop by 0.25% each year until 2030, when it reaches just 3%. From that point, the tax will drop gradually, depending on the gap between the state's revenue and the expenses, until it is eventually eliminated entirely. Okay, that is very interesting. But here's the flip side of that. When you eliminate things like state income taxes or property taxes or a gas tax, other taxes will occur. Look at this one. It says right here, the proposal will also cut the grocery tax from its current 7%, the highest in the nation, to 5% in a one-time cut. However, to make up for the funding cut, the gas tax will gradually increase 9 cents from its current rate of 18 cents per gallon, and then it will increase to 27 cents by July of 2027. After that, it could be further raised to help fund state road work. Okay, now that you understand that, here's what's going on in other states, because again, many states are realizing that their residents are hurting. They are struggling to put food on the table, keep a roof over their head, keep clothes on their back. Well, look at this. The Georgia lawmakers are pushing to eliminate state income tax on overtime pay. Keep in mind, that is exactly what President Trump wanted. President Trump wanted to eliminate income tax on a federal level from tips, from overtime, and from Social Security benefits. Look at this. It says the bill aimed to exempt up to $10,000 in overtime wages from Georgia state income tax, providing relief to working class residents affected by inflation and rising costs. Okay, that's in Georgia. Well, look at this. Let's jump over to Montana. The Montana Senate advances a one income tax bill. I want to explain this a little bit. I want to read a little bit of this to you. It says right here, the Montana Senate has given initial approval to a bill that would reduce state income taxes by more than $200 million a year, one of several active pieces of legislation that lay out different options for how to offer an income tax cut. This is what I've been saying for, a little while, that we are going to receive some form of stimulus it's going to provide a stimulant to the U.S. economy. And it's going to start from the cities, the counties, the states, and then potentially from the federal level. We just learned the other day that Deutsche Bank, they're one of their analysts is saying that they are calling for stimulus, okay, for fiscal policy change. This is huge because, again, the American people are struggling. But look at this, again, going to Montana. It says currently, Montana has two income tax brackets. An individual pays 4.7% on the first $20,500 of their income and 5.9% on everything above. For married couple, the brackets are below and above $41,000. Okay, it says right here, the Senate bill, which passed 47-3, the Senate Bill 203 from Senator Mike Yakowicz from Billings says it would raise the threshold so the lower bracket would cover the first $100,000 of income. Again, keep in mind, that's 4.7%, okay, up to $100,000 for an individual and the first $200,000 for those filing jointly. Yeah, it passed. It was endorsed by 47 people out of the 50. Yeah, overwhelming majority. Well, guess what? It's not just Montana, not just Georgia, not just Mississippi that are seeing their tax laws change. Here's another one. Oregon lawmakers introduce a bill to reduce income tax for tipped workers and overtime. Keep in mind, this is exactly what President Trump wanted. Again, President Trump wants to eliminate all income taxes, and he wants to replace it with tariffs. Well, the same thing is happening in states. They want to replace tips or the taxes on tips and overtime and things like that. But again, they're going to replace it with something else. I want to read a little of this to you. So this says, on Tuesday, Oregon House Republicans introduced bills intended to address the cost of living for Oregonians. These are the bills. It says, lawmaker HB 3753, lawmakers say this bill helps Oregonians keep more of their paycheck by nearly tripling the standard deduction allowed for personal income taxpayers. There's HB 3914. Lawmakers say this bill creates a personal income tax subtraction for tips received by thousands of Oregonians in the hospitality and service industries, helping them keep more money in their pockets as they face inflation and rising costs. And then there's HB 2234. Lawmakers say this creates a personal income tax subtraction for overtime pay received by Oregonians who work extra hours to support their family. Says, quote, no tax on overtime is a great way to give working Oregonians real, tangible relief from rising costs. Yeah, it is horrible when you are trying to help your family by working more hours, yet more of your money is going to taxes. That's troubling. They want to eliminate that. Here's another one. Kansas. Kansas House passes bill to trigger income tax cuts as long as state has surplus funds. This is an interesting one. Again, this is coming out about a week or so ago. But this is interesting because multiple states have said this exact same thing. Is if we have a surplus, let's provide some type of tax cut or some type of rebate. And keep this in mind because we saw it several times over the past 4 or 5 years where states, Colorado was one of them, was actually one that would give you a refund. They'd give you this refund check or this stimulus refund is what they were calling them. Some, if you paid property taxes, they gave you a refund because their state has a surplus. Okay, we've seen it in California several times. Many counties and cities are providing these little checks here and there to single mothers, to homeless people, to people that are transgender, right? There's a lot of different checks going out. That's exactly what's happening here. If a state has a surplus, they're trying to pass bills that would allow them to give that money back to their residents. So at the end of the day, the state pretty much is at zero. They're not operating at a deficit, but they're not hoarding cash. They're giving it back to their residents so then they can go and spend it within the communities, and that will help the entire state. So that's something that Kansas is currently looking at, but or they currently passed in the House, but there's more states looking at this as well. And then there's this one. Could Louisiana give income tax break on tips for state's service workers? It says right here, Louisiana Democrat Republican Alonzo Knox has filed a bill that would allow service workers to deduct tips from their state income taxes. Yeah, to deduct tips from their state income taxes. Look at this. This is from Knox himself. He says, Louisiana has one of the nation's highest percentages of tipped workers, with significant concentration in my district in New Orleans. These workers, servers, bartenders, barbers, hairstylists, hotel staff, rideshare drivers, spa workers, and many others keep our economy and hospitality industry thriving. Yet I hear their struggles firsthand when I move through my district. The cost of everything has increased. Essential grocery items, rent, insurance, and property taxes, making it harder than ever to make ends meet. This is not just an isolated problem in New Orleans. This is all of Louisiana. This is all of the entire United States. Every single city, county, and state is having issues, which is one of the reasons why many of the cities, the counties, and the states are looking into different ways to provide benefits to their residents. So we're going to see what happens. All I can tell you right now is yes, no income taxes is something that many states are looking into. No taxes on tips and Social Security benefits is something, and even overtime is something President Trump is looking into. But keep this in mind. You could be getting a check from a state, if you live in that state, if they pass a bill that does say if they are operating at a surplus, they have a surplus at the end of the year, they may give some of that money back to you. We saw that during the pandemic. Well, it looks like it's starting to come back. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that's what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.